The movie opens in ancient Greece, around 1200 BC, with the tyrannical king Amphitryon of Tiryns ruthlessly waging wars to seize more cities and wealth. He stood before the magnificent city of Argos, ruled by King Galenus. Galenus's army, though in the tens of thousands, was no match for the overwhelming tyrant's forces and was forced to retreat. They found themselves trapped in the city's central square with no escape. Amphitryon, a powerful presence on his warhorse, rode out from his army. His intimidating demeanor was enough to keep the Argos soldiers from releasing their drawn bows. King Galenus, knowing his forces were vastly outmatched, appeared and challenged Amphitryon to a duel, hoping this was the only way to save his people. Amphitryon, holding his long sword, dismounted, his icy gaze fixed on Galenus. He declared that if Galenus could defeat him, he would gain control of the city and its soldiers. With no other option, Galenus accepted the challenge. The two kings fought with immense strength and speed, their every move filled with power. Both armies watched nervously, their hearts pounding with every near miss. True to his title, King of Slaughter, Amphitryon quickly overpowered Galenus. To show his overwhelming strength, he even discarded his weapon and fought barehanded. Galenus still couldn't win. Amphitryon pinned him to the ground by his throat and delivered a lethal sword strike, ending the king's life and a grand campaign of aggression.
Against yours. Victor takes all.
Upon his triumphant return, Amphitryon faced the reproach of his wife, Queen Alcmene. She accused him of ruthlessly slaughtering a benevolent ruler for nothing more than the gold mine in his land. Amphitryon dismissed her accusations with a smile, asserting that war was built on countless lives. He told her his vision was to become the strongest king on the continent, a goal he was willing to sacrifice millions of lives to achieve. Alcmene knew words couldn't change his mind, so she placed her hope in the gods. Alcmene prayed to the goddess Hera, expressing the suffering of the world, which was littered with corpses and filled with grievances from years of warfare and endless taxation. She believed the gods who created humans surely didn't wish to see such suffering. To her surprise, Hera appeared in the temple. As the goddess of marriage and childbirth, Hera couldn't stop the wars, but she could plant a child in Alcmene's womb to overthrow the tyranny and restore peace. Without hesitation, Alcmene agreed to Hera's request, even if it meant bearing the stigma of infidelity. That very night, Alcmene offered herself, and the recipient of her offering was none other than Zeus, the king of the gods and lord of thunder. When Amphitryon arrived at Alcmene's chamber with a concubine, he saw what he believed was an infuriating scene. He didn't notice any man, only that Alcmene had betrayed him. In his rage, he left the palace and gathered his army to hunt down the intruder. However, Zeus sent a bolt of lightning as a warning, and Amphitryon was forced to drop the shameful matter quietly to avoid his soldiers learning of the disgrace. Soon after, Alcmene gave birth to the child. Amphitryon did not kill the boy immediately, but instead granted him the title of second prince. It was merely a nominal gesture. He intended to one day take everything back, including the young boy's life, to make Alcmene regret her betrayal. 20 years passed, and the second prince, now named Hercules, had grown into a strong young man. He had fallen in love with Princess Hebe of a neighboring country, and they met in the forest, swearing eternal love to each other. Their moment was interrupted by the crown prince of Tiryns, Iphicles. He was very displeased, believing that as the princess of Crete, Hebe should marry him, the heir to the throne, not the neglected second prince. Iphicles, who had constantly bullied and tormented Hercules since childhood, was determined to have his father discipline his younger brothers severely upon their return to the city. Back at the palace, Amphitryon announced a major decision. If the kingdom of Crete wanted Tiryns' protection, they had to marry Princess Hebe to his heir, Crown Prince Iphicles. The king of Crete did not dare to refuse, knowing full well Amphitryon's brutality. Hercules was stunned but did not object. He knew how much his father despised him and that none of his requests would ever be granted. When Hebe saw that Hercules was not reacting to the king's announcement, she ran out of the palace in tears. Hercules immediately rode after her. Hebe confessed her deep love for him, saying she would rather die than marry Iphicles. They both knew they could not change the will of the two kings and decided their only option was to flee. However, Amphitryon was not about to let them escape. Knowing that Hercules was not his biological son, he immediately dispatched a squad to capture them. Back at the palace, Amphitryon wasted no words. He assigned Hercules a life-threatening mission. He was to cross the Nile River and quell a rebellion in a southern city. This was to be Hercules' first time leading troops into battle, and his forces were halved, making survival uncertain. To prove his love for Hebe, Hercules agreed without hesitation. His mother, Alcmene, was extremely worried and suspected the king was using this as an excuse to kill her son. She earnestly advised him not to be impulsive for a woman, insisting that there was a task in the world more important than love. The love-struck Hercules could not heed her words, so Alcmene was forced to tell him the truth about his parentage. The next day, Hercules led his troops out for the first time. He bid farewell to Hebe before he left, unaware that this entire expedition was a plot orchestrated by Amphitryon to get rid of him. As they entered a cave, they were ambushed by Egyptian soldiers. Accompanying Hercules was the battle-hardened Captain Satyrus, who quickly organized a shield formation for defense. However, the enemy's numbers continued to grow, while their own troops numbered only 80. Hercules and the captain charged into the enemy ranks. Every attack was a matter of life and death. An archer fired an arrow that nearly killed Hercules, but his prince's helmet saved him. Furious, Hercules turned and killed all the archers. Although it was his first time on the battlefield, Hercules, a son of Zeus, was not someone ordinary soldiers could match. As time passed, however, their soldiers fell one by one until only Hercules and the captain remained standing. Seeing their tenacity, the enemy general sent dozens more soldiers to subdue them. The two were finally defeated and captured through sheer attrition. The enemy general did not kill them. Instead, he picked up Hercules' helmet and asked the captain where the second prince was. The captain immediately lied, saying the corpse at his feet was Hercules. The enemy general ordered a soldier to take the helmet to Amphitryon to collect his reward. Hercules now understood that this expedition was a conspiracy from the start. He was given only 80 soldiers to quell a rebellion, and the enemy knew their exact location. Thinking he would surely die, Hercules was surprised when the general saw value in their strength and decided to sell them as slaves instead. When the news of Hercules' death reached tyrants, Alcmene and Hebe were the most grieved. Amphitryon, on the other hand, showed no emotion. He even held a grand funeral for Hercules to avenge the hatred in his heart, wanting Alcmene to witness the death of the son she had raised for 20 years. He believed that as the king of slaughter in the mortal world, he had nothing to fear, even if the boy was of Zeus's bloodline. Meanwhile, in a dark, damp underground arena, Hercules participated in his first duel as a slave. Winning was the only way to prove his worth and survive. His opponent was a man even stronger than himself, who knocked him into the mud with a heavy left hook and prepared to deliver a fatal blow. But Hercules was no ordinary man. He knew he was the son of Zeus, and although he had not yet been granted divine power, he was a true demigod. Hercules and the captain went on to win every match, eventually earning the qualification to compete in the Greek finals held in Tiryns. Since Hercules was a slave and the captain was injured, Hercules had to face 6 warriors alone in the final. The 7 men stood menacingly in the center of the arena, their gazes as sharp as knives. Hercules struck first, moving swiftly as the 6 warriors swung their weapons to meet his attack. At this moment, Hercules was as fierce as a god. Winning the duel would grant him freedom from his slave master and allow him to go in search of his beloved Hebe to stop her wedding to Iphicles. He had every reason not to lose. Under Hercules' relentless assault, the 6 formidable warriors fell, leaving him as the sole figure in the arena. After Hercules' victory, the captain, Satyrus, brought good news. He had not only recalled soldiers loyal to him, but had also enlisted the support of Hercules' teacher, Chiron. They planned to overthrow the corrupt government, noting that under the rule of Amphitryon and Iphicles, Tiryns was in a state of despair. The army plundered wealth everywhere, and the people suffered greatly. The captain suggested forming an alliance to oppose the tyranny. However, Hercules had no such grand ambitions and only wished to be with Hebe. Chiron's next words, however, changed his mind completely. He revealed that on the day of the funeral, Amphitryon, in a fit of rage, stabbed Alcmene to death after she exposed his plot to kill Hercules. The news of his mother's death filled Hercules with uncontrollable anger. He felt that if he continued to be timid, he would be unworthy of being a man. Hercules immediately divided his forces with the captain. He was responsible for going to the village to rescue the oppressed civilians, for he believed that he who wins the hearts of the people wins the world. Meanwhile, the captain was to contact friends within the army to launch a coordinated attack from both inside and outside to break through the palace's defenses. Hercules and the captain's movements were soon exposed, but Amphitryon found their actions ridiculous, believing that in the face of overwhelming power, all conspiracies were in vain. He had 3 armies on their way to reinforce him and used a conspiracy to capture Hercules and his companions. To completely defeat Hercules, Iphicles publicly killed Chiron. Faced with the life and death situation of his comrades, Hercules, as the son of Zeus, finally erupted. After receiving his son's call, Zeus immediately bestowed upon him a mighty divine power, showing that his son, though born of a mortal, was not someone to be humiliated. With this new divine power, Hercules, wielding a heavy stone pillar in each hand, advanced toward the king's guards. The soldiers fell before they could even approach him. Amphitryon and Iphicles, seeing the tide turned and mounted their horses to flee back to the royal city. They knew they could not resist a newly empowered Hercules and that their only hope was to gather the army and suppress him. The one-sided battle ended quickly. Dazed, Hercules knelt before the body of Chiron, his teacher of 20 years, sorrowfully mourning his death. With his mother and teacher now dead at the hands of Amphitryon, Hercules swore to make these rulers pay with their blood. Soon, even many elderly people joined his ranks. Hercules, clad in armor, promised to lead everyone to reclaim what belonged to them. He declared he was no longer the prince of tyrants, but the son of Zeus, and with the support of the gods, their battle would surely be victorious. Under the cover of night, his army arrived beneath the royal city, but countless archers were already stationed on the city walls, ready to kill them. Hercules stepped forward and removed his helmet, revealing his true face. By now, all of Tiryns knew he was the son of Zeus, sent by the gods to punish Amphitryon. Had Amphitryon not been a tyrant who colluded with foreign armies to harm his people, the soldiers might have chosen to defend him. Instead, discontented, they chose to defect without hesitation. As the rebel army broke through the royal city's defenses and surrounded the palace, they were met with an army emerging from the royal city. The enemy army was not from tyrants but from Egypt, as well as 3 other armies from Germania and Africa. This was why Amphitryon was not panicked. He had turned to foreign forces to protect himself. He personally came out to welcome Hercules and had a special gift prepared for him, a volley of torches. Facing an enemy many times their number, Hercules stepped forward and demanded a duel with Amphitryon, a champions contest where the winner would take all. This was Amphitryon's usual strategy, but when someone else proposed it, he refused without hesitation. He had all the advantages and felt no need to take risks. He considered the honor of a warrior to be a joke. Filled with anger at Amphitryon's shamelessness, Hercules realized his opponent would not fight fairly. He decided to rely on the power of Zeus. Suddenly, the sky was filled with lightning and thunder, and a huge bolt of lightning struck Hercules' long sword. It was the thunderous power of his father, bestowed upon him to eliminate all evil and injustice. The power of thunder swept away the enemy armies like autumn wind sweeping fallen leaves. The 3 foreign armies perished for a tyrant in a foreign land. Seeing the situation turn bad, Amphitryon immediately fled back to the palace, finally acknowledging the divine power of Zeus he had always looked down upon. Hercules followed him, knowing he could not let the great vengeance for his mother and teacher go unavenged. Hercules launched a thunderous attack. Amphitryon dodged and swung a heavy sword, putting Hercules at a disadvantage in the first round. Amphitryon's title as the King of Slaughter was well-deserved. He had conquered countries with absolute strength and could kill animals with his bare hands. He was quite at ease facing his son. After a few rounds, Hercules was on the ground. Amphitryon switched to a giant axe, intending to kill him, but Hercules quickly got up to avoid the attack and then wrapped his iron arms around Amphitryon's neck. At that moment, Iphicles appeared with Hebe as a hostage, demanding Hercules' surrender. Caught between his sworn enemy and his beloved, Hercules didn't know what to do. Not wanting to drag him into danger, Hebe resolutely stabbed herself with a dagger, taking Iphicles down with her. Amphitryon saw Hercules stunned and launched a sudden attack with a long knife. Hercules, anticipating this, quickly blocked the attack. This time, the power he unleashed was too strong, fueled by both his demigod strength and the surging power of his anger. Amphitryon did not last 2 rounds. In the end, Hercules used the very dagger with which Amphitryon had killed his mother to end his life. The princess, who was stabbed in a vital spot, did not die and later had a child of love with Hercules. Finally, under the leadership of Hercules, the Greek people lived a happy and peaceful life. So, what did you think of the movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you in the next video.